Welcome to Grimwood City, a place where the veil between the magical and the mundane is as thin as a whisper. 9 districts, each a realm of its own mystery and allure. From the bustling trade at Marble Rock Pier to the arcane secrets of Silkway, Grimwood City harbors both wonder and peril. Here, werewolves, vampires, and mystical beings walk hidden among the Ironbound, the ordinary folk. The magical and the mortal coexist, bound by ancient secrets and unspoken truths. The ley lines, a web of arcane energy, converge here, weaving a spell that masks the extraordinary from human eyes. Brave adventurers delve into the ancient depths, seeking forbidden knowledge and battling untold horrors. In Grimwood City, every shadow hides a tale, every whisper holds a secret. Are you ready to uncover the truths and face the dangers of this enchanted metropolis? Join us on BackerKit to bring the mysteries of Grimwood City to life. Your adventure awaits.
Thank you.
Because let's try that. Now you should be able to hear me. Um my microphone did the exact same thing that happened when we started talking. It went back to the back room. So, just a couple things coming up that on the channel. I wanted to mention that Friday Grimwood City probably will not happen, and it's because my Foundry host is changing servers, and they're doing it at the exact same time as I'm going to be streaming. So I probably won't have a stream on Friday. And then tomorrow we have another guest who is a Rune Jammer GM as well as myself. So we will Rune Jam that in July. Which, if you don't know what Rune Jammer is a easy D6 index card RPG, Crown and Skull, and there's one more game that Runehammer publishes. They have a con that's a week long, and a whole bunch of GMs get to do stuff online, and it's free. So if you want to play a game, it's a good time to play. But that being said, that's everything about the channel. We are here with John. John, why don't you introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm John. I'm part of Nat Handsome Games. Uh, I enjoy creating games as well as a lot of house rules, and currently I'm creating a fairy tale fantasy setting for 5e that's on Kickstarter. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons specifically for 14 years and a bunch of other games since then. I started with 4e specifically, so a lot of that tactical video gaming style fun. And
I
yeah,
skipped 4E. There was a reason why I skipped 4E.
yeah,
Um,
there's a revival happening right now with MCDM.
there were good things about 4E. I will not lie. There was a lot of bad too, though.
Yeah, yeah.
um, so so this is a 5e supplement. So this is going to be something that you add onto 5e to do fairy tale type situations. Um, I know that right now you have on Nat Handsome Games, you have which why did that post?
Oh.
There we go. You have to download, you have the princess class. Can you tell us what other classes are you're going to have?
So the class is actually something that won't be a part of
Oh, okay.
the Fabled Empire supplement. It's actually just a little side quest for myself. Like,
Oh, okay.
let's do the most challenging thing that you can do in 5e. And so currently you can go download a preview, like playtest version, and I'm hoping to get feedback for it. But it's levels 1 through 5, and there's 5 subclasses that are built into it. So that's completely a freebie, and I intend for it to just be available to everybody.
I really like it, so makes me excited to see what you did in your supplement. You also have a house rules. Will the house rules be involved?
Yeah. Again, I don't think I want to waste the setting pages. Like, so the book is over 200 pages, and I don't really want to stretch that too much. So the book itself is going to contain denizens, magic items, creatures. Denizens being like creatures that exist that I didn't want to necessarily categorize as monsters. I want them to be more townsfolk or denizens, for instance, as well as spells and backgrounds. I think backgrounds I'm still working out a little bit, especially with the 2024 release,
Oh
and
yeah.
how much they're changing character origins within that space. But I really want to be able to provide players with the ability to portray specific archetypes that are predominant within fairy tale settings.
How much is written already?
So I've got about 30% of the setting, and plenty of ideas. I think written for me is a bit weird. So I would consider that being all of the stuff that's uh, polished, or at least like looked over by just more than just me.
So, what's your writing style? I'm curious because I know what my writing style is, and it's very much chaos.
Yeah, I just absorb. I go deep into researching like everything I possibly can about one like creature, for instance, and then pulling those ideas together to create that creature. Um, yeah, so there's a lot of like digital litter everywhere that I create, and then I organize those piles, and then they turn into something that's uh, publishable, I
So,
guess.
what's your favorite spell so far? Because I love adding
Like,
spells to D&D.
so I would say, um, it's hard to.
And how am I going to counter spell
How are you gonna, I mean, you're just going to use counter spell, and that's how you're going to counter spell.
it?
But yeah, I would say that there's like um, the the ability to have like I like the idea of being able to create like um, objects into mice to move them,
Ooh.
and so it's a
So like a
yeah,
polymorph?
yeah, but it specifically would work on objects.
Okay.
So I'm thinking like within that like Cinderella world of
So, okay, I have to ask now. Do you have a spell to create living objects like in Beauty and the Beast?
uh no, not yet, but
But now that I
I'll take
mention
it into consideration. It's this is being recorded, so I'll no notes over here, but I'll come back to it.
uh, so you have so on your Kickstarter it says that you have 10 plus fairy backgrounds. You have 30 plus spells, 14 kingdoms, courts, and guilds. So did you create like a whole map for people, or is it like excellent? I like.
Yeah, so yeah, the map is a work in progress. Certainly, like a ton of detail. Every time I open up Photoshop, it reminds me like you're dealing with a really large file here.
Mm.
But yeah, I think
I know that feeling.
I think I went into a pretty big rabbit hole with maps too, because I want to kind of get it right. Um, I know like rivers to nowhere is something that is pretty common within fantasy maps.
Right.
So yeah, I'm putting a
Uh,
little too much pressure on myself to be perfect about it.
I hate map making. It's my
Oh, okay.
least favorite part. It's not that I don't. It's not that it's not important. I feel it's most important, but I hate
Mhm.
doing it because of the rivers to going nowhere and making sure things actually make sense in the world. Does this desert actually make sense in correspondence to the mountains? That type of situation. All right, magic
Yeah,
items. They're the bread and butter of D&D 5e. What's your favorite
yeah.
that you have so far?
That I have right now. So magic beams for sure. Like the ability to just like cast those and create ladders to climb up. Uh, the um, I think like a similar style like Misty Step, but with ruby shoes. So
Okay.
really playing into all of that kind of fairy tale
So, like Ruby
set
Shoes,
world.
like I want to go home type style?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, so what are you writing the book in? Is it InDesign?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was using another program because I'm not and big news of the week. Actually, big news of the last couple weeks is like Adobe's all
Mm.
up in some heat. Uh, but yeah, I was working in something else, and then I jumped over to InDesign about 6 months ago.
I don't regret
Yeah,
starting in InDesign, and I probably
yeah,
will stay in InDesign, but I'm that heat that Adobe's in kind of
yeah.
like is making me want to switch over to Affinity. And
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah. I'm too
uh,
far now. I can't like
that's my problem. I'm too
timelines.
far.
Yeah,
Like I don't have time to go and rebuild the entire book in Affinity Design.
Mhm.
Um, uh, your artist is amazing, by the way.
Thank
Make
you,
sure you
thank you.
tell her so.
Oh yeah.
Because the designs are very watercolor esque, and
Mhm.
they have that fairy tale feel
Thank you.
that you've shown on your Kickstarter at least. Um, all right, so a couple design questions.
Yeah.
Who are you using for publishing the book, printing the book? Because that's important to me.
So right now, I don't have a printer lined up. I do
Oh,
know like the printer options that
right.
I'm looking at. Um, I'm really just trying to find a way to where I don't have to put it on a ship. Um,
Yeah, same here. Good
yeah,
luck.
but anything else is like, uh, yeah, I think if I want to get the book, uh, if I want to get the book printed, um, locally, it's gonna cost a significant portion. It's pretty much anybody that's backing physical. Um,
Right.
like it's just all going towards
Towards the
printing
book.
that book. Yeah, and I don't really have a problem with that because there is something to say about having the product completed
It's
to continue the legacy after that. And
I,
I want to stay away from print on demand just
oh,
because like
trust
that
me.
can be hit or miss.
I definitely want to stay away from print on demand. Am I probably going to go print on demand for Grimwood?
Mhm.
It's looking so because I don't
Yeah.
have the funding to just slap down right now.
Mhm.
And I don't think I have the prestige enough to get the funding from a Kickstarter or BackerKit.
Got it.
Uh,
Yeah.
so far, you're 20%. That's awesome. I'm very
Thank you.
excited.
Yeah.
So,
Same.
um, very happy for you. Um, you're only asking
Yeah.
for what, AK?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
8K.
that's not that's doable.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But
Um,
mostly just a lot of art, a lot of just like building it up, and maybe a little to keep, but most of it goes to the
hey,
crowdfunding service and everything else.
as Bruce Ballin said, Dr. Bruce Ballin said on the stream a couple weeks ago, we don't do it because we want to make money.
Oh yeah.
We do it because we want to do it. Because there's not much money in the making of it. So you're 5e compatible.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a jump to say that you could make a Pathfinder version. Any thoughts about that?
I'm thinking about it. It was actually one of my TikTok followers added a comment once I announced that 5e was the target for the setting, asking about a Pathfinder. So I think that I would. I do know that it's a bit more work to move up to Pathfinder just because of the
There are
yeah,
different distinct changes that have to be
yeah,
made.
and I know that it's a tighter system too. It's not as
Loose. It's
yeah,
not as
loose.
loosey goosey as 5e, but I don't think 2024 is going to be as, or whatever you want to call it, D&D 1,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. 5e plus is what I have it as on the Kickstarter right now.
What do you like? Yeah. I mean, you think about it, it's going to be a little bit more less loosey goosey with those rules from what they've announced recently. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to see some higher level CR monsters to see if they like fixed that, cuz that's where it's just like and Tarask.
How do you fix the CR? Did you fix the CR in yours? Because calculating CR is such a pain in the butt.
So I do have I didn't have enough time to release it with the so on my website nethandsome.com you can download a house rules and house rules and tools PDF. And in there I have a recommendation for using spell points. I also went through and did some math around monster around the CR and hit point distribution, and I pull from a couple sources just to try and figure out like what is the math behind it. So you can reference that table. That's kind of what I'm following.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a better table than what they provide.
Oh yeah, yeah. So all of it's there in black and white. If you want to go check it out, like that's what I'm using. That's how I'm solving the problem. It's hopefully right, but yeah, I do cite where I referenced as well, so you can go check the math. Yeah.
Yeah, I see here monster stats by challenge rating.
Yeah.
Nice. So okay, so you have 34 plus monsters. Any particular monsters you want to hint at?
Not particularly. I do have the list here of who I'm targeting. Just one moment.
No
Again,
problem.
like I said at the beginning, everything's in piles.
I definitely understand that. FYI, Scabbard.com is a very useful organizer.
Scabbard? Okay.
Yep. Just so you know. It's a campaign manager, but it can be used to maintain connections between characters and land and locations. It's super useful.
Yeah, I wanted to get into Obsidian for that as well, but it felt like it was a little too high.
That's the problem I have with Obsidian, and same with World Anvil, is that it takes too long to put data into the actual system. Scabbard does not have that data issue. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. So yeah, I think one of the bigger challenges that I want to take on is creating a Fey dragon.
Ooh.
So I know there are other attempts that are out there, and there are certainly some instances of it by third-party publishers. But I want to create a Fey specific dragon, one that has like, I mean, maybe inspired by like Puff the Magic Dragon a little bit, maybe inspired by you know, the Jabberwock. Just trying to play within that space. There's also playing into more um, playing more into like Arthurian legends. You know, having more of those like lindworms as dragons as well. I wouldn't mind. I'm thinking about perhaps a severed shadow being one as well. So playing off of that kind of Peter Pan tale.
Nice.
Yeah. So just kind of pulling from a lot of inspiration. I think the hardest thing to do is understand or figure out how to represent them with art.
That is the hardest part in general. Art is expensive. Plain and simple, people. Art is expensive. And especially when you have good artists. What inspiration have you taken for this? I mean, it seems like you're pulling from a lot of like classic, what we call American tales, or English tales, like Peter Pan and Beauty and the Beast and Cinderella. Or is it more like Grimm fairy tales? You know, Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, so like Grimm, Hans Christian Andersen are the two big ones, and I would say like Hans Christian Andersen being Beauty and the Beast, and
right?
Cinderella, etc. Yeah. And then I would say that there's some inspiration from the more modern like classic fairy tales or the adaptations of fairy tales. There's also Oz being an inspiration, Peter Pan, Arthurian legend being pulled into there, or Arthurian romance. And then Celtic mythology, like I do want to have some of that representation being there. But it's certainly, I feel like that's so ingrained in the Feywild already. Like I do want this to be distinct from that.
It's pretty ingrained into that Feywild of the Forgotten Realms. So you did mention before we started, you are basing this off like Forgotten Realms as the base of the universe, correct? So is this going to be part of the Fey realm or Feywild, or are you looking at making your own dimension for it?
So yeah, it won't be a dream domain.
Okay.
As a part of the Feywild, it'll be a demiplane distinct from it. The kind of narrative justification behind it is that there was conflict with the Summer Court within the Feywild, and this Fey, this powerful Fey, ended up creating their own demiplane, and that's why it's so different from the Feywild that currently exists.
Nice. Did they sacrifice themselves to create it, or were they just that powerful?
So there's some hints actually in the Kickstarter.
Okay.
There's a Vibe video that tells the story.
Okay, I'll have to watch that. I apologize. I've had a busy week at work. I've watched what I could. I read what I could for this. So you say you want to keep it at about 200 pages. Is there a reason for that? Is it cost? Is it print costs? Like,
yeah, I'd say that there's, I also want, because it is full color, I don't want to go too overboard. So a lot of the pricing of the physical specifically is built into that page count.
Right.
So yeah, I would say that it is cost.
Um, totally, I understand. As
Yeah.
somebody who's been looking into printing, it's a cost.
Yeah.
Um,
And then I am going with U.S. Trade or U.S. Royal, so it's a 6x9 book instead of
okay,
the
so 6 by
yeah
9 instead of interesting.
yeah
I went
yeah
eight.
and
I went 8.5
oh,
by 11.
oh yeah you if you do figure out your printer before you get way invested in layout,
It's too late.
but
I'm eight and
too
a
late.
half by 11.
Okay. Yeah
I'm not
yeah
redoing it. It's all laid out. I wrote in layout. I'm kind of like Kelsey, from Shadow Dark.
mm.
She writes in InDesign and just lays everything out right then and there.
Oh yeah.
I,
There's a lot of those. I think Ryan Lynch of Print
yeah,
Heroes and
Ryan Lynch
Princesses
does it
does
too.
it. Um, yeah, I've heard a couple designers talk about like how
I
it's not the right way to do it.
It is not the right way to do it at all, but it's the way I do it. Because I come from a graphic design background, so
No.
I have education in animation. So
Uh,
I just graphic design makes more sense to me when I see it.
yeah.
Um, uh, that being said, I felt okay. So your stretch goals. I want to go over your stretch goals because they're
Yeah.
important. Stretch goals are always important. At 8K, you're fully funded. At
Mhm.
15K, you're gonna get 5 more fairy tale spells. And then 20K, you want to get 5 more magical items. And then 25K, richer lore and world building. So, are you going to like include more lore, or is it going to be like how to
Yeah.
create your own lore?
I would say that it's expanded more
Okay.
into that. So that's where I would say that the Kickstarter gets to the point to where that page count that we were just talking about is a little bit more flexible.
I would
um,
agree, yeah.
yeah,
And then you have your book enhancements at 30K, which is always good. Book ribbons are my favorite.
hmm
Just
yeah,
adding that in there. Um, and then your 30K, 5K, you'll have hand drawn character sheets, which is nice.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I really want to do that, and like, I think for those, I already have ideas for that because it's what the players look at, and I just want them to be designed, but then drawn over.
Steve from Ronan's Den said, John, the more exposure for your game. Setting. Correction. Setting. um, so this original idea did
Yeah,
come from a game idea that you had.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so I want people to make sure people know that you have potential of, if this goes well, who knows, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
So and we can talk about that.
sure.
So I had a Kickstarter previously for a game. I've been saying standalone, but I don't think that that's what everybody calls it. Um, but its own game.
It's okay.
Yeah, and that game used uh, so it was based on a game system that I love called Into the Odd. I think the way that it builds off is known as the Mark of the Odd. So Electric Bastion Land, Mouse Ritter, as well as Mythic Bastion Land, which is coming out soon. So all of that, like Chris McDowell.
All games I want to play that I haven't had time to play.
Yeah, yeah. So there is. I know that there's a divide. Well, I mean, there's always OSR is such a big word, big acronym. Um,
I have problems
but
with OSR games, but me and DM Tails have argued about this, and he's kind of brought me over to his side a little bit.
well, so the scoop with Into the Odd and games like it is that it's not um, it's not a it's not building off of the revival of
OSRs.
the OSR. It's more of an adjacent, so it's like
Mhm.
its own adaptation of the OSR, and that's why I like it. So
I'm all about easy and simplified games. So,
Yeah.
and initially I was like, OSRs can't be that because in their nature they're working off something that's complex. And then Wes from DM Tales was like, not necessarily. And he gave me a few examples, and I had to agree with him. Those examples were simplified versions of OSR. But that being said, I'm just not an OSR guy. I just don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like the Dark Souls feel of death could be around the corner. I want my characters to be the hero of the story.
Yeah. I am gonna just comment on Pirate
Sure.
Org.
Oh yes,
Right there. And how that's one of those Dark Souls style games.
I did play Pirate Borg on the station for a while, the channel for a while. It didn't last long because I killed most of them like 17 times, and I was like, this isn't fun for me anymore.
Got it.
So,
yeah.
But Pirate Borg is a fun game for a one shot. I would 100% do it again for a one shot.
Yeah, and I would say that the system that I ended up creating, that is the Fabled Empire, was also very lethal, but I had added some additional like checks, especially like a final stand roll. So instead of like
Nice.
just saves, as we're all familiar with, it would be as much as I think it needed a little bit more playtesting, I did evens odds on a d6. And it was the only time you did evens odds. So
I think and actually you added a functionality that I might add to my game just by thinking about it. I think I might add in a feature. Right now I'm doing death saves with my D12 system. I think I might add in a feature where you can choose to forgo your death saves to make a final stand.
Yeah, do it. Yeah. Actually, it is included in those house rules that.
Oh, okay.
For 5e that I published, where there's final words and final stand, and the option. I think ever since Dagger Heart's playtest came out, everybody's like, yeah, let's bring this in, because they have the 3 options.
Right. Yeah. So one thing that I want to make sure that everybody knows is that your Kickstarter is doing some major environmental commitments, and I think that's important. Because it takes a lot of work to make those commitments. You're doing top-notch material with thicker paper. You're doing sustainable materials for your shipping, and hopefully more to come based on how much you get. Right?
Yeah. I do want to ease the burden of shipping so that I can go with like more sustainable materials. It's just a question of so that's kind of why the stretch goals fade out. So if we reach them, there's also like better shipping options.
Nice. Have you looked into distribution? Because I just had a meeting with ShipBob and they seem really cool.
ShipBob. Okay.
ShipBob.
Yeah, when I went through the first Kickstarter, I was recommended a couple. So yeah.
I think that's all I have for you, John. Unless you have something that you want people to know that I haven't covered.
No. I think we walked up and down the page. I intentionally kind of kept the Kickstarter thin, just to make it an easy read.
If you guys haven't joined the Kickstarter, back it now, because I think it's gonna go places because it looks a lot of fun. I'm probably going to modify some of these to put into my games, because I don't run 5e, but that doesn't mean I don't modify 5e stuff to work.
5e is so plentiful too. Like you can, it's so easy to pull from it. Not like Pathfinder though, being the countryist.
All right. So in that case, stick around, John. I want to say thank you. Afterwards, let's. One thing Twitch does is raid, and I always raid out. Let me see who I can get to raid out to real quick. Who is currently streaming that I want to just raid to? Oh, Magic Academy's doing their RPG Dungeons and Dragons. That's a good one. Academy. We'll go over there and say hi to them. They're great folks. Thank you guys all for being here, and thank you, John, again for being here. Stick around, and I'll talk to you afterwards. All right, everyone. Thank you again so much for stopping by, and back John's Kickstarter, because I'd like to see it go somewhere, because it's a really cool idea.